Hey, welcome to another morning coffee with Trevor, your host Trevor Matthews. Thanks again for joining, hanging out, and enjoying a coffee with me. We spent the last few days talking about CO2 as a refrigerant. We had some good conversations going, and I really like having a CO2 conversation with people who are new to it, as well as people who are experienced in it, because I'm always wanting to learn. I want to get better. And yesterday I was meeting with a guy, and we were talking about CO2 chillers and how they're going to start importing chillers into Canada. And I'm like, that's really cool. I know friend of mine, Wyan Grunwald, helped a company in the state. I think they're called Pro Refrigeration. Set up one of the first chillers in their state, which is pretty cool. So these newer technologies are starting to come through with CO2, and we're going to see it more and more. And that's why I love talking about it. I've been sharing knowledge on it for years and years, but I still have so much to learn. To be honest with you, I've trained hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of technicians on CO2, and I still have so much to learn. So it's a lot of fun. I like that. I like that curiosity I have about it that keeps me wanting to learn more. And hopefully all of you have a learner's mindset as well and want to continue to get better and grow and share that knowledge. And this is why I do a lot of this stuff. I share this knowledge and not turn on my video. Uh, share this knowledge and not and learn from that. And what I continue to try to do is just bring value to other technicians out there, companies, brands, to want them to do better and show them that they can learn some and share that knowledge. Welcome, everyone. So some of the things that I'd like to just share maybe today is some other things on CO2 is that we didn't really dive into. And a lot of this is just high level overview that I'm going through. And it's easy to gather CO2 information today. When I first started researching on CO2 refrigeration, there wasn't as much stuff out there. There was a lot, but it was not as ready available. And now I feel like there is a lot more. Like more of the manufacturers have manuals, uh, from components to equipment manufacturers, and that makes it easier to start to learn the process of uh, that CO2 knowledge. So we talked about a little bit about secondary systems with CO2 is where you're using a refrigerant and a medium on one side, so the high side or the medium temp side, and then on the low side you're using CO2 as a pump gas. So it's liquid. You're pushing liquid out. Liquid goes through the coil. There is some latent change with CO2, so it's more efficient than if you're just using a brine. And then it comes back mostly as a liquid, but as well as a vapor. And that's really one way to use CO2, and that's used in a lot of applications, a lot of industrial applications, even a lot of supermarket applications I've seen over the years. I've even worked on quite a few of them. Um, and what you need to understand is that that's not the only way. Like another way would be a cascade um, system where you're using another medium as the medium temp refrigeration or the high temp, and then the CO2 would be now a low temp DX. So now you actually have metering devices, and you have standard DX coil, not fluid coils. You have air coils. So it's just things that you need to understand, and the way it works. You're going to have some plate heat exchangers. You're going to have a lot more electronics in there compared to when the secondary you'll have solenoids. A lot of it will be done by solenoids. The solenoids will open up. It'll regulate the refrigerant through in the secondary, and then it'll close off when you're satisfied. In the cascade, you'll have electronic valves, controllers, and you need to understand this stuff, especially when you're working with newer refrigerants, and just be ahead of the curve. That's the big thing. And there's so much to learn out there. But I think when technicians start to focus on what they want to learn and get better at, they're going to grow quite quickly in that area. for me, for many, many years, I was being like really a jack of all trades, which is great. I've learned a lot about a little, or a little about a lot, sorry. And but until I started focusing and really wanted to understand refrigeration and really want to understand CO2 refrigeration, for an example, that's when I seen my learning curve increase immensely, because there is just so much knowledge out there, because you can learn from residential, and then there's lots in residential. You can go from heat pumps to VRF to split units, all these different different technologies that you can learn of. They run differently, they work differently, they have different components. So it takes time to learn each one of them. Then when you get into commercial HVAC, there's a ton of different equipment. You know, you got package units, you got air handlers, you got makeup airs, you got, and the list goes on, heat pumps, and the list goes on, and chillers, and on and on and on. And then when you get into refrigeration, it's the same thing. So I highly recommend taking the time to, if you can, over a few years, is just focus, have something you want to focus on and really learn that, because there's going to be continued things to learn. I talk with many technicians and many mentors and older people that have been in the industry a lot longer than I have, and they continue to learn. They're like, Trevor, do not stop learning. Things change each year, a lot, and a lot of change. Right now, like AHR show is going on in Vegas, and there are so many new technologies, I'm sure, that is there right now. And what the new and the development and the new stuff coming into our industry is starting there. But it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years for some of that stuff to even make it into the market, because this is like their technology that they want to get out there, but it's not going to be, we're not going to see it right away. Like they will get it in some applications, but until, you know, a few years pass, you might not even start to see it. Because I know when I did work at Emerson, I've been to a few shows, and the products that they release at that point, some of them are still working its way into the market, you know, because what happens, an OEM needs to, you know, take it on board and try it. And if they start to like it, they'll start to put it in some equipment, and then that equipment needs to sell. And so there's a process to get like this newer technology out there. So it's great to see and understand, but it will take a while. And that's what the continuing development's all about. How's everyone doing this morning? Besides the first 2 or 3 minutes, not seeing this beautiful face. So we talked a little bit about cascade system, but when we get into the transcritical, it's all CO2. So there's no medium of a different refrigerant, which could have been a synthetic, or it could have been a natural refrigerant like ammonia or R-290. But transcritical is all CO2. And one of the cool things that I didn't mention before is that you have one main liquid line. That main liquid line will feed both your medium temp and your low temp cases. Where if you work on other systems, you know, you have a medium temp liquid line going all to your medium temp, and then you have a liquid, your low temp liquid going all to your low temp, you know. And so it's quite fascinating to see it all in action. And once again, it's all about safety too. You need to understand this, understand the safety factors of the pressures, and where to put gauges on, and what to look for, and what to turn on and turn off, because you need to be running your medium temp or your higher side, your transcritical side, before you can even turn on your low temp side. And there's many instances, I talked to technicians over the years that I was working at, they're like, oh, I shut off some breakers, and all of a sudden there was no gas in the rack. And we blew the charge. And so these are little things that are different than with HSE. And once again, it's all about the knowledge. If they didn't turn off those breakers, that wouldn't have happened. So it's learning this, and it's a learning curve, and it takes time. You know, it takes time to learn a lot of valuable knowledge, but take small, simple steps. I'll continue to say that. Invest in yourself each day, learn something new to make yourself a little bit better tomorrow. Bill, nice to see you, bud.
Morning. didn't want you to be the only pretty face on here.
Well, I'm really glad you're taking the time to join. How'd the workout go this morning?
It was a little tight this morning. Tell you what, I need to get into a better stretching routine, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
What do you have a stretching routine? First of all, do you have
I
something
do.
like?
I do
Okay,
a little bit of yoga, a little bit of physical therapy that I've learned through the years.
yeah,
It's actually done wonders for my lower back because I mean, as you know, knees and lower back in this industry don't last long unless you take
yeah,
care of it.
yeah, 100%. I had uh, I still do have major back problems that will flare up because of
Mhm.
the years I've put in of pushing cases, lugging compressors, climbing ladders. So you do need to take care of yourself, and I really believe me doing the exercise and staying healthy, trying as my best to stay healthy over the years helped me a lot along the way, right?
I got a question for you, Trevor. So, how is like an accomplished, successful guy like yourself? How does your day look like from your morning routine to your nightly routine? Like, how do you get all this stuff accomplished?
Okay, well, it's planning. It's a work in progress, to be honest with you. That's what it's all about. Just like a lot of you, like in the morning. Now it's quite easy to get up. I even got up before 5 yesterday, but I try to get up at 5 now, and it took me a long time to get to that point. Now, but I get up at 5 and have a large glass of water. Try to do that first thing. Have a big glass of water, and then I do some stretching and workout. I used to go to the gym, but the gyms they may have opened up here, but we're still in restrictions here in Ontario. So you couldn't go to restaurants or gyms or anything until I think yesterday they may have opened up. I'll have to check again. But so I usually like to go right to the gym in the morning, get my workout done, get the blood flowing, get me thinking, be listening to a podcast at the same time. I used to listen to music at the gym all the time, but I listen to a podcast. So I'd be listening to something um, that's professional development, personal development, or motivating. Something that's gonna just kind of pump me up for the day and get me going. From there, I would schedule myself like then it's morning time with the kids. Get the kids ready, lunches if I don't do that the night before, and get them set for school. And really, it's setting my schedule. So my first 2 hours in the morning, it's me sitting down, taking notes on my day, or having coffee with my wife, and trying to figure out the strategy for that day or the next day or that week. So I try to spend an hour or two, depending if I have training or not. Sometimes I'll have training in that first time slot. After that, I'll schedule my lunch. Like you gotta one of the things you need to do is schedule that time in. Like I used to not take lunch. Used to just go through it all the time and just keep working and plowing away. But um, for me, it's not healthy, and I would schedule that and take the time to do it. And from there, I'd get back into uh, you know building, either working on my business, doing sales, doing marketing, doing LinkedIn posts, working on my YouTube. But I got to schedule that in. And to be honest, I'm still working on that. And during the day, it's easier to schedule that stuff in. The harder stuff is right when you're done work. That that's the hardest stuff. Like when 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock comes around and you make dinner and get the kids ready to bed if you have kids or whatever, and you get that. It's from that 7 or 8 o'clock to that 10 or 11 o'clock. How do you schedule yourself? And I think that's probably some of the most important aspect. Some people don't like working out in the morning; they work out in the afternoon. But start to schedule that evening is the hardest part. But this is where you need to take time, sit down, and write down. So it'll be like, okay, I want to read a couple articles out of RSES magazine during this time, or it's I want to look through Dick Worth's book. You know what I mean? I want to do chapter 2, and I want to read 3 pages, or it's I want to do some personal development. I want to learn a new language, whatever it is. You need to schedule that stuff. Because you still have other stuff that you need to schedule as well. It's like cutting the lawn and doing the chores or whatever you need to do, work on your car, changing the oil, whatever it is. You still need to schedule that stuff. But I say on the evenings and the weekends, that's where I'm becoming most effective. Like people say, well, why are you working on the weekends? Well, I like to work. I like to build my skills. I like to build my knowledge, and I like to help the people that I'm doing all of this for. And so I do have to do some work on the weekends. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that if you love what you're doing.
Do you do this on the weekends as well?
Yeah.
Morning coffee? You
Yeah.
know, I've seen that in the schedule, and I'm like, no, there's no way, because I was up this whole week and I was thinking about coming on here, but I'm like, there's no way he's doing it on the weekend. That wouldn't make sense.
Oh yeah. 30 days straight. I want to try to share knowledge, and
Oh, sure.
hopefully help one or two people if I can do that. And bring some value. That's what it's all about. I want to help more people, and to do it is by serving and bringing value. So if you guys can share this with other people, send people to my website, because nobody really knows who Refrigeration Mentor is. You know what I mean? And it's my goal is to build a brand that people value. They want to come and say, hey, Refrigeration Mentor is a place that I can go learn, feel comfortable, grow, and have fun. Learning should be fun. And when learning's not fun, that's when it's, you need to do something else. So trying to make it fun. So.
Well, I think it's fantastic what you're doing.
Thank you, Bill. Really appreciate that. So when we get back into transcritical, does that help on before I get back into the transcritical side for scheduling and planning?
Yeah. I'm always interested to know what successful guys are doing throughout their day. It helps me kind of gauge where I'm at, and kind of opens up my eyes to different areas where I could probably tighten up my schedule a little bit better to add in some more potential for success.
Yeah, well, you're definitely successful, Bill. I've seen what you've been doing over the last couple of years, and keep doing what you're doing, serving your friends and fellow technicians, and inspiring others to do what you do. Because there's so many times I'm like, oh, well, am I bringing value to people? And I see the value you bring to others. Even on Friday nights, every week, Bill has a video podcast. What do you call it? A YouTube live? I guess that's what it is. Every week, him and the HVAC overtime crew just hang out, talk about refrigeration, and really try to bring value to all the people that are following them. And I really believe scheduling yourself, and it's difficult. Like I said, it's still difficult for me, but when you do that, it's going to those small incremental steps is going to help that growth. You don't think so, because I didn't think so, but I've been spending 2 years, like really I've been doing it for a lot longer, but the last 2 years I've been really trying to invest in myself, like reading. Like I said this before, like I read technical manuals all the time, but I didn't spend to read really personal development books from start to finish. Like I'm almost finished the E-Myth. I think it's the E-Myth of HVAC contractors right now, which is by Michael Gerber, who wrote a ton of these books for like HVAC contractors to build their business, to grow their business, to get better. I don't have a HVAC contracting business, but it's given me ideas on how to serve customers and how to, manage people a bit, because I'm going to want to grow. I'm going to want to have people. I'm going to want to have trainers at some point to really go out and make an impact. Like I'm not going to be able to make the impact that I want to make in the refrigeration industry by myself. There's no way. If I want to affect millions and millions of refrigeration technicians across the globe, it's not going to be just me. And I don't want it to be just me. I want to work and collaborate with other people who love to talk about refrigeration, who love to train the next generation, or train the people in the industry right now. And when, sharing that knowledge and helping others become better, that are not stressed at their job. That was one of the things that I remember being stressed a lot of the time for so many years, because I didn't really know what I was doing. Nobody showed me really the ropes. And it was like, you're a phone call away or you're a mic click away. And it's not the same. It's not the same when you have someone there that can help show you. Yes, it's easier now that there's video chat and stuff like that. But when you get to share that knowledge and see the growth in the other people, I really enjoy that. I love that. I love seeing people getting better. And I want to teach people to get to the point where they're better, they know more than me. That's my goal. You know, when I can teach someone that becomes smarter and can learn more and have more knowledge than me, I'm doing my part, right? Hopefully I can show them and teach them how to learn, because that's something that I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to learn. But when you can do that, I think that's, for me anyway, that's one of my missions, is to help as many refrigeration professionals out there to become the best that they can be. How do you incorporate rest in the hectic schedule? I find it difficult. Well, so once again, yeah, that's scheduling, planning. I used to go to bed like midnight, 1 o'clock, staying up working, reading, you know, like I need to get more stuff done. You know, I need to get more presentations done. I need to get some more videos done. You don't. You know, you got to say, okay, I need 7 hours of sleep to be more effective tomorrow, because in your job and what you do, you're only effective for so many hours. Like lots of people go to their job for 8 hours a day. And I've done this. I've worked in the corporate world before, you know, going to do my 8 or 9 hours a day. I was only effective a lot of the times for maybe 2 or 3 hours, that are where I'm just pounding the workout most of the time. And the average person in their like 8-hour shift, depending on it, don't get me wrong, depending on the job and the role and whatever they're doing, they're effective for just so many hours. And then if you don't get the proper amount of rest, or, you know, you're not feeling good that day, the productivity drops down. If you don't have someone at your job, if you don't like your job, another one, you're going to be effective even less, you know. Or if you don't have people that inspire you to want to do better, or grow, or have like leaders and managers that really spark that fire to get that stuff in, your productivity is a lot, I would say, lower than when you have a goal or a vision to set for. Because when I was in, when I'm focused on getting something done, I can just smash out some content, some work, developing courses or tests. But it's not like that every day. Like, you know, I would love to be like that when I'm working and I'm focused, but you need to get distractions out. That's one of my things. I have a shiny object syndrome sometimes, where my phone is beside me and it'll go off, and then I look at my phone, you know, and then all of a sudden I spend 5 or 10 minutes on my phone. Then I get back into what I'm doing. Then it takes time to get back into there, you know. So spend that 5 or 10 minutes on social media because my phone ding, or I got a text message, or I got a phone call, because this happens a lot, and I take it. And then all of a sudden I got to remember what I'm getting back into. So I'm working on the CO2 program, for example, and I had a phone call yesterday, and I spent 30 minutes on the phone call, which was a great catch-up call, which was perfect. You know what I mean? It was, you know, to catch up with a family member. But it took that 30 minutes away of that focus where I was pounding and getting some good work in, you know. So then I had to get back into, where was I at? Okay, what was I thinking at that point? And where was it going with those thoughts to build this, you know, this content that I was working on? So getting the distractions out of there will really help reduce the hecticness, I guess. And, you know, planning that rest. Like last night I stayed up kind of late. I got to bed at 11 o'clock last night and was able to read for 25 minutes. But that's still too late. Now I only had my 5 or 6 hours of sleep, depending on how many times the kids woke me up. But I still got up at my, you know, I think I set my alarm to 5:10 this morning, gave myself an extra 5 minutes. But you need to, once again, plan and schedule this stuff and try to commit. That's the big thing, is commit. Does it have to be perfect? No, definitely doesn't have to be perfect. But if you can commit to that schedule that you make and get into those habits, like, once again, I'm getting up at, you know, almost before my alarm. Where I remember years ago, I'd hit the snooze button, bang, hit the snooze button again. Okay, I know I don't have to get up until this 5 minutes before, you know, and the safety factor. Then jump up and rush and get all my stuff on, jump in the vehicle and take off. That's just going to put more stress on you, you know. So take that time to figure that schedule out. And once again, to reduce the hecticness is schedule yourself on the weekends. A lot of time I've wasted on many weekends just by doing nothing, just lounging around and And don't get me wrong, that's good. You need that downtime. I'll tell you right now, you need the downtime. You need to take a break and, gather yourself, especially if you're working real hard, you're doing those 60, 70, 80 hours a week, you need some of that downtime. But even if you're working those big hours, you still can incorporate podcasts while you're driving, on site, reading manuals, trying to learn, not trying to just wing it and figure it out. Okay, well, I know I worked on this other piece of equipment, it must kind of work the same. No, take the time to read the manuals. Yes, you might be on a tight schedule, but you need to understand what you're working on, right? To take that to the next level. So I've got a question here. Okay, Trevor, considering the transcritical nature of CO2, what do you think about it being applied in hot climate regions like Africa? Perhaps another cooling medium will be utilized for it. No, there's transcritical systems in South Africa right now, quite a few of them, and you're going to see more and more across the warm climates. So there's climate zones right now across the world, and you'll see as you go closer to north and south pole, it's colder. As you start to squeeze your way into these different climate zones, you'll start to get warmer and warmer across the equator. And from when I started learning about and talking about CO2 to now, that there's no issues on the technology putting transcritical CO2 systems in anywhere in the world, any climate. It's called warm ambient strategies that they use on these systems. And it could be for anything from adiabatic cooling to parallel compressions to flooded evaporators. And the list goes on. So it's making it easier for these systems to run in those zones. Because one of the big things about a basic transcritical booster system, you are bypassing 30 to 40% of its capacity and just burning that off. So wasting energy. And with these warm ambient solutions, they're starting to use that gas. Now it's usable gas in these different technologies. And so that's why you're going to start seeing it in these warmer climates. And you'll see it really all over the world. And you're seeing it now. Like if you go to R-744.com or look up Sheco, they're formerly known as Sheco, but atmosphere, and you go and do some searching on how many transcritical stores worldwide, it's going to show you some of the warmest climates in the world. Australia has transcritical systems, and it's super warm there in location. So it's happening, and you're going to see more and more of it. I know I've been talking quite a bit. Any questions, anybody? Few minutes left here.
Hey Trevor, I just want to say, thank you for your sacrifice in terms of you actually taking the time to recognize that there's a need for guys to be mentored in the field of both air conditioning and refrigeration. It's much needed. A lot of us don't have it. Somebody to talk to trash out with whether it's ideas or issues, and it's really a privilege to really experience this with you. And I really hope that it continues, and I even hope that you're able to train guys to be mentors too, So again, thanks again.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And that's my goal. I want to help more people to be able to do this, build their confidence. And if that's something you're interested in, I'm starting to build some mentorship programs for technicians, because I think it's a huge step when if I can help you teach 5 other people who they can teach 5 other people to share that knowledge and spread the knowledge of refrigeration to become better technicians. And I just want to let everyone know, like, being a technician is an amazing job. I loved it. I totally loved helping the customer out, solving problems, critically think, making decent money. And then from there, I knew I got to a point where, well, it's getting hard on me to work those 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So there's a transition point. And I believe every technician should have this transition point, but you need to work towards that. So start halfway through your technician career. So you're 5 years in, 6 years in, start working towards your succession plan after 15 years. So start taking project management courses, maybe, or personal development, public speaking courses, sales courses. And over the years, you start building a little repertoire. By the time you get up to your 15-year mark and somebody asks you to become a service manager, you're like, okay, I know I can do this. I know I can do. You have the confidence. I've been working towards it for the last 5 years. What I've been seeing out there is that a lot of technicians, they get to a point after 10, 15, 20 years, and then all of a sudden, all they knew was just the technician side, the technical side, which is great knowledge. But when you try to transition from just being a technician into a project manager, sales, service manager, operation manager, trying to now start managing people, even though you have a lot of knowledge and skill in as a technician, that transition is really hard if you didn't plan and prepare for it. So, but I really appreciate the comments. I hope this is helping some of you, and that's what it means. If I can help affect one of you on here to be better tomorrow, learn a little bit more, share some knowledge with your coworkers or friends who love refrigeration, my job here is done. I like that, Bill. That sounds like a good idea. Training guys to become leaders and trainers and one day mentors themselves. Yes. And I know all of you on here can. I've talked to quite a few of you before. You definitely can. And you can be a mentor even if you're new to the industry. Just say you have 3 or 4 years in, because you have that knowledge. You can share with someone that's only 2 years in or 1 year in, or share your experience with someone who has more experience than you. You need to talk to them and understand where they're at. A lot of it's listening to technicians and finding out, for me, is what they are looking for, because most of the technicians I deal with, they're smart. They know what refrigeration, they know HVAC. It's that confidence that they're lacking, or the vision. And hopefully I can help that with a lot of you. Okay, there's another question before we jump off here. Now, what do you think about mobile critical systems that can be only transported by the means of backpacking or aerial drops in extreme remote location? Example, jungles and rainforests. Wow, I've never thought of that. I've not thought of that, but you know what? That's definitely possible. Like here, when I was working at Copeland or Emerson, and they had a transcritical trainer. They built 3 or 4 different mobile trainers where they sent it around Canada or the US, and I would fly out and go do training. So could that happen? I don't see why not, why you couldn't drop that in. I don't know what's happening right now. I think maybe it's just chillers dropped into these different locations maybe, but I've never thought. That's a great question. Let me write that one down and take a look. I like investigating this stuff. Anybody have any comments or you want to leave the group with before we sign off? Awesome. Have a fantastic day. Let's get a conversation going. See you later.